Hi, welcome back. It's part 4 of today's um, campaign update and press release and State of the Union and topical topic conversations. So, a State of the World also. So, it's time to move on to birthright and illegal aliens. So, I've made I think many videos on illegal aliens. So let me start with birthright. I think it's a good idea to stop letting people just cross over the border and become citizens. We have a different world today than we had back at the time when this Amendment 14 was written. And it was written for a specific purpose, and that time is now gone. So it is time, I think, to remove that right, automatic citizenship, from time of birth to you get citizenship from your mother and father. And that's how it's done in this country. I would highly recommend that. A lot of other countries around the world are doing it that way, so it is completely normal and in line with the world. What I will say is that we need to increase the amount of legal people coming to our country. So right now, we only allow about 1 million people to enter our country any given year. And that's from all the countries all over our planet, which is, in my opinion, too less. That's why we have the immigration problems that we're having. So what we need to do is say that whatever number Congress and I discover is a good one, we'll go through all the countries and figure out how many people we want to come in from those countries, and then let them in. Sorry. I'm trying to find a good location for you. So, like, we can say, let's have 500,000 Mexican citizens can come into our country every year to become U.S. citizens. Mexican citizens who want to come to work can do so by filling out a work visa and having an employer to go to before they cross the border. I might even put like job boards up at the main border crossings so that people can go directly there, see what jobs are available. They can get the paperwork there, they can fill it out, and then they can call up the employer and say, hey, I'm interested in your job. And there can even be an interview right at the border. And then people can come over. Legally, what we want are legal people. Illegal people are coming into the country under illegal circumstances. That's what illegal aliens are. And there's a difference between being legal and being illegal. There's a difference between coming into our country to eventually become a citizen and just coming into our country and working, or coming into our country to do bad things. So those are the normal way and then the wrong way. Then we have also something called asylum seeking, which is completely different than migrant and completely different than illegal and completely different than wanting a green card and completely different than coming to work in our country. Asylum seekers are people escaping their own country because of fear of persecution, fear of government control, collapse, war, famine. So those people can seek asylum. But you have to declare it on day one. And so this, I will say, this video is especially for our people in charge of the border concept. No country is doing what we do. And that is where our problem lies. So we can sit on the fence and argue all day long about what's right and wrong. But I think if you listen to what I just said, you have to agree with what I said. You don't get to come into the country, hang out for a whole year, and then on the last day decide, I'm going to seek asylum. No. Your asylum starts the day you enter the country. What I will say, we need a treaty between the USA and all the countries around us. When somebody lands from a foreign land in your land, that is their start in asylum. So let's say somebody flies from China to Guatemala. In Guatemala, that Chinese person has asylum already. They don't need to come to the USA. The Chinese person doesn't need to walk through many countries and come to the USA and then say, oh, I want asylum here. No, it doesn't work that way. They had asylum when they landed in Guatemala. And so let them be there. Let them live there. Let them learn the language and work there and do their thing. If they want to come to the United States and seek asylum, then they have to get here first. Because you already had asylum as soon as you landed in a country other than your own. So I don't think there's a treaty signed like that between the countries in the Americas, but it's what we need to agree upon. I believe the UN has that in their documents, but I don't know how much we're really following the UN's doctrine. So I think we need to make our own doctrine over here in the Americas. And so asylum, you declare on day one, you fill out the paperwork, and then you will be processed. And that's how asylum works. You can also stay in your own country and seek asylum to the U.S., I believe, by going to the embassy. So you can also seek asylum already in your own country at the embassies. Perhaps even the consular agencies. I don't know. Have a look at that. So that is my story about illegal aliens. So what happened to me last year is I tried to enter Canada first, and they wouldn't let me. I was just going to go for lunch. I was up in the Niagara Falls area, and the Border Patrol wouldn't let me enter their country. So I drove in, I said what I wanted to do. They didn't believe me. They thought I was going to go and get lost and stay in their country. And I said, no, I wasn't going to do that. But then they said, well, no, sorry. You need to come and talk to us and tell us more details. So then I went and I filled out their forms and told them more details. And eventually it was discovered or decided that I should not go into Canada for the day and have lunch. So in Europe, people are always crossing the border to go and have lunch. It's a normal thing. I crossed from Switzerland to Germany. I've crossed from Switzerland to France. I've crossed from Switzerland to Liechtenstein, Austria, Italy, all those countries to just have some lunch and come back. But in the US, where we've got all this freedom and we're supposed to be on friendly terms with Canada, that is somehow not possible. When I was a child and I was living in Rochester, New York, so, back in the 80s, that was possible then. I could go to Canada easily. So I don't know what we're doing wrong, but we've gone in a bad direction. So, but that is a lesson to learn too from the USA. You don't have to let everybody in, especially if somebody shows up without a passport. So I had a passport and they still didn't let me in. So these are things that we can do at our border too. If we have people coming across that don't look so good, or that don't have passports, or that have a record of, theft and murder and all this, we can turn them around and send them back. They don't have to come into our country. So who is it? Congress has to write up the documents for that, for all these things with the asylum and dealing with people from other countries. The birthright. We need Congress to write that up. And then we need to pass it and make it into law. Or, I don't know, maybe the Border Patrol head, whoever that is, can put this already in place. I don't know if they need specific instructions from Congress or if they can do their own thing. But yes, I would highly recommend this way. We need to invite people. Absolutely. We want foreigners coming into our country, bringing their intellect, their way of life, and sharing it with the rest of us, and making the USA a better country. That's what we want. And so if people want to come and become US citizens, I highly recommend it. If you want to come and just work and go home, or you just want to work for the summertime and go, that's also possible. But you have to do it through the proper channels. Just fill out the paperwork, find that employer, talk with them, get approved, and come in. No big deal. Absolutely possible. And then I have a whole concept about what to do with people coming across with vehicles and how that might work. But at the border, don't be afraid to turn people back. Not everybody has good intentions. And if they don't have a passport, they should not be coming into the country whatsoever. No, they have to have a passport. We have to know who's coming in. So, yeah, and then asylum seeking is something entirely different. So, yeah, asylum seeking is great. People need protection sometimes from their governments that are oppressive, but not the way it is now. Not where they land in Peru and then they walk all the way to the US and then declare asylum. No, they had it in Peru. So, treaty time. So if we want to draw up that treaty, that would be great too. Then we have the birthright. So whoever your parents are, that's the citizenship that you have. And if you become a U.S. citizen, then your children will be a U.S. citizen plus, perhaps, whatever country you came from. So let's say that you're here from China. So then your children will be Chinese and American and U.S. just from you alone. And let's say that your spouse is from Peru and Ethiopia. So then you've got 4 nationalities. So you can decide which ones are the important ones, which ones you want that child to have. But if you're a U.S. citizen, at least one parent is a U.S. citizen, then that child gets that U.S. citizenship. If the child is born to 2 non-U.S. citizens at the time, people seeking U.S. citizenship, it could be perhaps considered okay that as soon as you and your spouse get your green cards, at least one of you, then your child will suddenly become eligible at that same time. So then you could apply for any children that you've had. And then they would have U.S. citizenship because you have it. I could see that happening. That makes sense. Because you're dedicated to being a U.S. citizen. You've been raising your child here as a U.S. citizen. So then that would make sense. Okay, so I'm going to stop here for a second. And then have another one.